Hello, this is the DJ Megaset Alpha number 3 run-through video. Over the last few months, I've put a lot of work into this. I really want to have a super versatile, unique way of mixing music by the end of this pandemic. Something really advanced that has a lot of features that I've never really found elsewhere. And I'm really excited to bring this to you today with a current update. There's some really cool stuff, and let's get to it. This is a perk for Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much. You've really helped me during this time with no gigs and everything. You've kept me afloat, so thank you. If you're interested, go to patreon.com/TomCosm. You can support me and play with this. So let's run through everything. I'm going to run through the whole lot because quite a bit has changed, and we'll start on the left-hand side. This is the simplest one. It's just an audio track called Hold. This is where you put audio tracks ready to be warped. Once you've got them warped, you put them in your crates area. This is a group containing 8 audio tracks or 8 crates. You can name these whatever you want. You could call this Psy and Dubstep and however you like to categorize your music. Mine's a bit messy, but don't pay attention to that. So that's where you keep your tracks ready for searching and dragging over into the actual playable area, which we will get to in a minute. There's nothing much more spectacular with the crates area. Let's close that down. Let's move over to the impacts area. So the impacts have a custom device that generate random riser and faller sounds depending on the time frame that you specify. So let's just say I'm going to hit 8 here on the riser track, and let's have a listen. We get an 8-beat riser. If I hit random and hit it again, we get a different one. Let's randomize again. Let's do 16 bars. Here it comes. Here it comes. I've had a lot of fun making this. I've sat here and clicked these buttons many times. So the way it works is we have 8, what do you call these? Units here. And these correspond to 8 core features of the synthesizer that's creating the impact. Each one of these has a minimum and a maximum. So you see the first one is volume. And for a riser, you want the volume to be at 0 or no volume or negative infinity, moving all the way up over the time that you specify. This one is a noise to pitched oscillator ratio or mix. This one is the primary pitch. So this will raise or lower the pitch of the actual toned oscillators. The pitch secondary changes the pitch of the frequency modulated oscillators. The frequency modulation applies how much FM is being played. The LFO amount is the low frequency oscillator amount. And then we have how fast the LFO is going. And then we have a simple low pass filter. This just opens up. So with these core 8 things, we can get quite a unique range of different rising sounds. There's also 8 parameters down here, which I haven't really figured out what to call yet. I think this is kind of the color section. We have the different wave shapes for each of the 3 waveforms of the toned oscillators, not the white noise, just the toned ones. We have a shape, which is the shape of the LFO. We have reverb amount, reverb size, delay amount, and delay size. So let's just hit this one more time. Nice short one. One more short one. Bit of a weird one. Very good. I'll play some of these when we're playing some tracks in the decks. Let's move to the faller. It's exactly the same, but the volume and the low pass filter go down instead of up. So this is good for hits and impacts, big whooshes. When the beat drops, you want some impact. I should mention that I created these because when we get to the decks, you'll see that there's lots of looping and layering involved. So you might get a bit lost with layering lots of tunes over each other and creating your own loop. And if you want to transition on from them, you can use the riser and the faller to make those transitions. So let's hit some fallers. These are short ones, so good impacts. We'll do one long one. Here's 32 bars. And again, I'll play with these when we move across to the decks, which we'll do now. So over on the decks, this is the group containing the decks. We have 4 individual decks, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These, you can duplicate these if you want more, or if you want less, you can delete them. I prefer 4. I find that's a perfect amount for doing some complex layering and looping and whatnot. Each one has the same identical set of effects, and this unit here, which I've made, is the brains. This is probably the most the techiest part, tech part of the DJ Megaset. This is where I spent the most time. This gives you the effects and EQs and mixing stuff and looping stuff that you'd usually find on CDJs or a mixer, but with a little bit extra and a few shortcuts. So I'm going to go through each one of these. Let me just get a song playing. We'll play this one on deck number 1. Okay, so let's move from the left to the right. We have our normal bass, mids and highs. We can bring them down. We can hit reset all to bring them all up to up to 0 dB. Bring the highs down. We also have a mute button, so if you want to have a button on your controller, do a quick mute of the bass, mids or the highs. This is the button. We have a slider, so this slides to the value that you specify over a period of time. So let me just choose this and hit slide, and you'll see the bass is now sliding away. I created this because it allows you to move on to do something else, because there's quite a lot to do with this template. So I know I can hit a button and the bass will slowly fade in or fade out, or the mids are going to kind of fade away. Let's bring the bass slide back up, and let's bring these down a little bit, and I'm going to hit slide all, and you'll notice now they're all moving for me. And we can set these to really long times, so we can fade them out over 32 bars or whatever. Okay, so that's your basic EQ area. We have our low pass and high pass filter. Let's turn on the low pass. Pretty basic. Over here we have the high pass. Let's bring this up. We also have this dial here. If we turn this on, it allows us to move the low pass and the high pass with just one dial. This is good to assign to one single knob on your controller. We have drive, filter type, and our Q resonance. We can bring that right down, or we can bring it up. Very good. Let's turn those off. Next we have a sweepable EQ. So let me just open this up so you can see it in action here. If I turn this on, you'll see the EQ8 turns on, and we can now sweep a pole of the EQ and raise or lower a certain band of frequencies. So let's say I want to raise some frequencies. I'm going to bring the gain up. You'll notice that it's made a little bump over here, and now we can sweep this around. We can go up to the hi-hats and make them a bit louder. We can bring them up. We can make the Q to broaden it out a bit, or we can make it quite specific, quite narrow. If we like, we can go in the negatives and we can actually remove those frequencies. And we can sweep around and find a particular frequency in a track that we want to get rid of. So this is really good if you've got another track you're mixing into that has, say, a really powerful lead line or a real powerful sound, and you want to subtract that frequency from your mix. So this is real fine-tuning EQ stuff. Let's turn that off. The last thing we have is we have one more low shelf and high shelf. So this is just to really isolate a band of frequencies in your track. I should turn them on first. So really good if you just want to really isolate something. Let's have a look at that one. So you can see that's just isolating that band there. I can bring the highs up a bit, bring these up a bit. Again, very particular stuff, but I find it quite useful, and hopefully you do too. Now we have a looper. So like a CDJ looper, this will continuously loop the track over and over, and it will keep maintaining that loop until you hit the exit button, and then it will continue playing from where it was looping. So to give you an example, let's hit 1 bar. So now it's looping 1 bar. Let's go to half a bar, quarter of a bar, or 1 beat. We can go 2 bars. And I'll hit exit, and it will just continue playing now. What I'm going to do is hit 4 bars. This is the 3rd bar. Here's the 4th bar, and let's hit it. So now it's got a seamless 4-bar loop. It's not going to go anywhere, it's just going to keep playing that over and over. And that's handy because that means we can move on to the effects area. So this effects area here has a whole range of effects. I've spent a lot of time building these. These are really handy for playing over music that's already been mixed, so tracks and stuff, good for DJing. We can switch through them with the effects selector here. We've got everything from delays through to expanders, to crushes, to choruses. But let's just choose the delay. I'm just going to turn it on, bring up the amount. We've got a time value, we'll make it nice and short, bring the feedback up. And And the modulate and the intensity will do things differently depending on what effect is selected. We also have an LFO over here, so I'm just going to bring the amount down and the offset down. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to assign the destination to something. I'm going to put it on the time, and let's bring the amount up. Okay, it's going quite fast, but you can see that LFO is now moving the time for us. We can make this much slower. We can bring the amount down. We can offset it, we can bring it up. Let's bring the amount down here. Actually, let's put the LFO on the amount and make it fast. In a short time, lots of feedback. So you can get quite complicated with this LFO. And remember, we're still just looping those 4 bars. We haven't done anything different from this point onwards. Let's turn the LFO off, the amount down, the effects off. Let's choose another effect. Let's just go for, we'll just go flanger, turn it on. You hear the modulate and intensity do stuff here. Let's put the LFO on the intensity and turn it on. Time, feedback. So you can really get some cool stuff out of this. Just over loops and really layer stuff. Let's just keep that going. What I'll do is I'll bring the bass out. And let's play something else. Let's just play this track here. So again, we've got a whole set of things that we can muck with here. We can bring the bass out. We can bring the bass back in with this one. Bring it out, bring it in. And let's loop this. Let's play another track here. And now we're having a good time looping. Anyway, let's stop these. I'm going to keep this deck one going here with the effect on it, and I'm going to show you the sampler track. This one is similar to the decks, but it takes in a feed of what's currently happening in all 4 of the decks, and it allows you to actually record an audio loop. So unlike the looper that we've got here, which will just continuously loop until you hit exit and then continue to play, this will let the audio keep playing in its normal time but allow you to capture a loop. So let me just choose track number 1 here. I'm just simply going to hit fire and it's going to start recording for us. And when I'm ready, I'm going to hit fire again and again. So now that's just looping over and over. I clicked the wrong buttons there, but you get the idea. You've got 8 individual loops that you can record. So now if I stop this, we've now captured that. This track has stopped playing, but we've now captured that loop. We can actually open up the audio file and have a look with the flanger on it. And then of course we can apply things to this. We can do a quarter bar loop. We can add our own effects here. Let's try something different. And let's get something else playing. And we should stop this from looping. Very good, so those are the decks and the sampler area. I'm just going to stop the sampler playing here. We can also delete by clicking on the X. We can get rid of those samples. And we can also, that's one other thing I didn't show you. So this looper sampler track, when the loop is finished recorded, you can choose what you want the EQ to do. So the reason I've done that, let me just stop the music for a sec. The reason I've done this is because I found when I've recorded a loop, when it starts playing back, I want it to immediately have a particular EQ setting on it, and that EQ is usually cut the bass. So I don't want it to suddenly start playing back the loop I just recorded and mixing in a new bass and a new kick with the original, because that's just going to create a lot of mud. So if I was to get something playing here, let's turn the effects off, turn the looper off, bring the bass back in, go back to our sampler track and record a sample. And So now it's playing. Turn the effects off, turn the looper off. You'll see that it's snapped to this soft ISO area, but we can choose any one of these. This is a bass hard cut. We can just have the mids. We can just have the highs cut. So yeah, a bit to play with here. This is kind of how you choose what you want with this button here. But it's a way to snap an EQ to when the loop starts playing. I hope that makes sense. I might need to re-explain that when I write a manual. But I'll release a set after this. I'm going to have a mix with this tonight, and hopefully you'll be able to see how this works. So moving across, we have the dummy clip area. So this is a work in progress. There's still some things that I want to add to this here, but basically you can send any audio from deck 1, deck 2, deck 3, deck 4, or actually anywhere within the set. You can send it over to this dummy sender track by using the F send. And when you send it over there, the dummy sender is going to send the audio back to these dummy clips, and it goes through each dummy clip in succession. So it'll go into a beat repeat, and then let's open up the audio in and out, and then the output of this goes to an EQ, the output of this goes to a gate, and this continues on for 16 individual audio tracks that each have their own unique effect on them. And again, why I'm doing it this way rather than have each audio effect after each other in one audio track is it gives us the ability to have dummy clips that do particular things to the audio over time. So let me just send some audio over there. We'll turn the solo off. So I'm going to send this over to the dummy injector. You'll see they all start getting levels. So everything is going here. Let's bring the volume down here. We don't need it. So this isn't going out the master anymore. It's going to the send, then to here, then to here. And that means we can now play these dummy clips and change something within the actual audio track. So here's a redux. Let's go sharp. You'll see it changes the downsample rate depending on what clip I play. Let's try a reverb. Maybe a sucking reverb. And we can stack these up. So you can now hear that the audio from the original, which I'll bring back in here, just by choosing a bunch of these dummy clips, we've got a really different sound going on. So this is without the original, and this is with. Now one more thing here is we have the dummy injector. So the dummy injector allows us to quickly switch the audio from going out the master of any one of the decks, quickly switch it over to the dummy clips. So on deck 1, I'm going to hit this, you'll see we're just going to the dummy clips. If I turn it off, we're just getting the original. So you can quickly send it to and from the dummy clips. We can get something going here on deck 2. And let's send deck 2 over there. So I'll hit deck 2. Now deck 2 is getting fed through all these dummy clips. I'm just going to select none, and we'll get something else going on. Let's play something else. Let's turn it off deck 2. Let's send deck 3 over there. And of course, these are all mini mappable to your controller. Okay, let's just stop all of the stuff here. One extra little feature is this X track. So what this does is it sits there and it listens to, or it watches what you've played. And when you've played something, it adds a stop button in its square. So if I was to play this track, you'll see that it's put a stop button there, and that's to help you remember what you've played. So sometimes when I've done really long sets, I get a little bit lost and I'm like, oh shit, have I already played this track? So this tells you if you've already played any track within that row within the set. And if you want to, you can clear that by clicking clear all, and all the stop buttons go away. The very last thing is we just have some basic effects over here on these other 5 sends. So let's play one of these tracks. We have this kind of short delay. This is really fun when controlling with dials, so I'll bring it up. This is send A. We need something with a bit of highs in it. Come on. So I guess you'd call that a really short delay. We've got a pretty traditional time sync delay here. We have a short reverb. We have a long reverb. Sorry, C was a dub delay. Let's find something that's not techno. And yeah, D and E are the reverbs. And you've got those for pretty much every track within the DJ Megaset. So that's where we're at. I'm pretty amazed that I was able to explain that in one take. Yeah. So as I said, this is a Patreon supporter perk for now. It's an alpha version, subject to change, subject to potentially break. If it does break, please let me know in the comments, or if you have any ideas or features, also let me know. I'm going to go ahead and have a bit of a mix with this and upload a video within the next 24 to 48 hours of me actually using this so you can see how it works with a nice flow. And I will be updating this hardcore over the next weeks because I'm so excited to get this finished. It is really, really, really fun to play with. Okay, my name's Tom Cosm. Have a great day.